Alright everyone, it's time for Occult Literature, video number 206, Christian Science, Medicine, and Occultism. Now this is more of a skeptical tract than many. It's fairly short, 38 pages, but it's by Albert Moll, or Moll, I'm not sure which way you'd pronounce it. Actually rather well known. I'll link in the description of my edition of this work on Amazon, second and third links to my books blogs. If you're interested in sort of the medical, herbal sort of thing, there's a category for that, although this goes under academics technically, because it is speaking about, sort of occultism, beyond the quackery of Christian Science, so to speak, faith healing, things of that nature. Basically, the gist of this is 90% rationalism, debunking sort of the pseudoscience of faith healing. However, there are a couple of exceptions made by the author. Number one is that he takes it on a token that mesmeric qualities, hypnosis, things like that are actually in play with faith healing. Like he says, well, faith healing claims all of these victories. Most of them are bunk. It's bullshit. But where there have been instances of faith healing working, like it's essentially a mental effect. And today we call this the placebo effect. I don't think that term had been invented back when this was written a century ago. It's actually a precursor to the concept of the placebo effect, and it is very much real. This is one thing we have to understand when we talk about quack science, quack medicine, herbal healing where it's not quite biologically active. What you're seeing is that insofar as many symptoms or many ailments are purely mental, if the person's mentality can be changed, you can cure or at least treat the symptoms. You can prevent them from continuing to be sick. The sickness is in their mind. I think, what was it? One of my professors in UVM, actually, credited PhD and so forth, said something to the effect of, if it weren't for viruses, then herbal healing would be as effective as any mainstream practice. That is pretty much true. Plants and minerals can have antibacterial qualities. They can change the biology, the underlying biology of the body. They can be psychoactive, certainly have mental effects. And most diseases actually are stress-related or mental. Even physical ailments can be stress-related, like people keep their stress in their shoulders hurt, they think that they need surgery. They think that they need to go to a chiropractor. So it's like if the stress were alleviated, you wouldn't have had that underlying problem, at least to that severity, in the first place. And so he recognizes it, but he classes it as a form of mesmerism by faith healing. He talks about, well, these faith healers, sometimes they can't mend broken bones. They say, oh, well, you have to set the bone and then we can faith heal it, and that's sort of a proof against it. And this is, it's like the argument, why can't God heal amputees? And it does have some logical relevance, to tell the truth, to spiritual arguments, especially with regards to faith healing. Of course, the strictly religious can say, well, he chooses not to. Or they can say, well, yeah, I'm skeptical about any form of faith healing. Yeah, prayers like togetherness with God or something. But with faith healing, you're specifically invocating, calling on a deity or force to cause a healing reaction. The thing is, in many cases, they'd be like, well, don't take medicine, just pray. But with broken bones or something like surgical, of course, it was a different story. Some people die to this day because they have so much faith. They have enough faith that they don't care if they live or die. Like, there was a family, I think this was, God, this had to have been 15 years ago. There was a family, they had a kid who had, like, meningitis, I think, and they just decided to pray, and then they eventually died. There was a family, their kids were starving, like they never fed their kids, and they would just pray for them to be full, and they starved to death. I think one of them starved to death. The rest, I think the state came in and saved them. And you have weird stories about, like, kooky religious people like that. But at the same time, yeah, the placebo effect is real. And this is interesting. For the occultists, this piece of literature is mainly, like some of these I've been cranking out lately, is cautionary. Just because someone is claiming an effect doesn't mean you have to take it on a token that it's real. Even if it comes from a group or an individual you usually trust, it doesn't mean that any specific claim that they make is true. You should investigate it with your mind, and if it's prudent, you can investigate it experimentally for yourself. And then usually, if it doesn't work, they'll make excuses like, oh, you didn't do it right. You mispronounced this one Latin word in the invocation, so the demon didn't come. And then each time you do it, you'll find out that you're doing something else wrong until you get bored and find something else to do, which is, of course, the whole point. So again, link in the description of my edition of this work on Amazon. Second and third links are to my books blogs. Plenty of other pseudoscience, herbal sort of medicine. The Family Nurse is my favorite because it's quite elaborate, available there. That's about all. Peace out.